Okay, we'll call our meeting to order and begin with the superintendent's report.
Well, thank you, Skip. It's great to see all of you here tonight, and I'd like to welcome everyone watching our live stream this evening. Very excited to be at the middle school this evening. Looking forward to the reports that we're going to hear later in the agenda. I'd like to start out with an introduction. As you know, we have a new principal of Vicksburg Pathways High School. So I'd like to introduce Kelly Luke. She's here tonight for her first board meeting. And it's an agenda item, board action. So Kelly, if you don't mind, would you just give us a little background so that the board can catch up?
And a song and dance.
Oh.
And do it at a microphone so everybody can hear. Sorry. It's for the live streams. Thank you.
Hello.
No, you're fine.
It's
okay.
the live feed. It doesn't work in here.
Perfect. I've been at Vicksburg Pathways for 10 years. Special education teacher for years before that. Just love the program, have a heart for these kids, and am excited to be the new principal there.
Well, we're very excited to have Kelly leading the Pathways program. Very excited about her ideas, so welcome, Kelly.
Yes.
Very quiet in Lansing, but just a couple of things I wanted to comment on as in my report tonight. Governor Whitmer did introduce her budget proposal last week. I believe most of you are aware of that. In addition, she highlighted two new education initiatives that she's pushing. One is a full phase-in of expanding Great Start Readiness preschool programming to all 4-year-olds, making free pre-kindergarten available to all families. Currently, there is that's based on need and finances. And then she also wants to make the first 2 years of community college free to high school graduates. Both these proposals combined come with a price tag of about $300 million, maybe a little bit over that, closer to $4 billion. So stay tuned on that as the House and the Senate start proposing their budgets as well. But just a couple highlights of hers. Recommending proposing a 2.5% increase to the foundation, or $241 per pupil increase. That would bring that foundation allowance up to $9,894 per student. And then adding an additional $125 million for special education, at-risk, and English learners. And there's a lot, as all budgets are, a lot of categoricals. Some of the highlights of those are CTE, also the free breakfast and lunch program that's currently going on, and then some offsets for transportation costs. So we're going to await the budget proposals from both the Senate and the House. In your packet, I included the School Equity Caucus. Has a pretty good breakdown of her proposal. So take a look at that, and if you have any questions, please send them my way, and I'll get you the answers. Again, I think this proposal is a good start for the budget season. We all are sitting here knowing that's a long process. The goal is to have that finalized by July 1, so this is just the start. On the legislative front, House and Senate Education Committees finally were back in action this past week, and that's the first time they've been back since November. Both chambers, again, are moving very slowly because the House remains deadlocked at a 54-54 split until the April special election. So I don't anticipate a lot going on until those elections take place in April. And just a quick reminder, if you recall back in the fall, a lot of significant pieces of legislation were passed, but they were passed without immediate effect. I think we talked about that. Tomorrow, Tuesday, February 13th, a lot of these laws will go into effect, including those changes to the para laws, the automatic deduction of union dues, the repeal of the third grade reading retention, and also the repeal of the A to F accountability system. I will continue to update all of you as these laws take form and how people respond. I'd like to lastly draw your attention to our calendar of events. Highlight this Thursday, the VHS Pre-Festival Band Concert at 7 in the PAC. And also, next week we have Indian Lake and the middle school and Toby all putting on shows as well. And that all leads us up to next Friday, which is our midwinter break, which is still on the calendar. So no school next Friday, the 23rd, for students or staff. And with that, that's my report.
We had an amazing Pathways graduation this last week. We had an amazing Pathways graduation this last week. That is so wonderful, and it just went really well. I think we had, 14 graduates. Yes, so that's something wonderful that I think we always need to remind people that that's happening.
Yeah, that was really a nice evening. Well done.
Okay, we'll go on to budget and finance report. Steve?
Okay, included in your packet is the monthly budget progress report, and this includes information for the general fund through the end of January. Just taking a quick look at that report, year-to-date revenue totaled just over 15 million, or a little over 40% of the annual budget. Expenditures, total instructional expenditures were just under 9.5 million. Or 43.86% of the budget. On support services, year-to-date total combined support services were at 6,440,000, or about 48%. And then below that, there's a breakdown for athletics as well as community services. And so total expenditures year-to-date, just under 16.7 million, or about 46% of the annual budget. On the second page, expenditure data is broken down by object code, and you can see that salaries and benefits, year-to-date, 13,475,000, or about 45.5% of the budget. Purchase services, supplies, capital outlay, and other are broken out separately there. And again, total expenditures just under 16.7 million. Any questions on that?
Steve, I just noticed in looking at the athletic budget, they're budgeted less this year, but their spending is ahead. Is that just a timing thing, or is they doing something very different this year?
It's partly timing, but I do need to, as part of the amendment, go through and look at that.
Okay.
I do know that, we're handling things a little differently for some of the workforce that supports events, where we're making sure that we're complying with all wage and hour laws. So we're paying hourly rates, whereas I think I have to think about exactly when this change went into effect, but as it's been harder to get people to work those games, we've had to tweak those a little bit. And then when we have hourly employees that are doing that work, we have to pay based on an hourly basis. So that's going to be part of it.
Okay.
But I'll be looking at that budget as a whole here, hopefully
Well,
pretty soon.
It's a small part of,
Yeah, but it's, we're definitely ahead on that for sure. All right, other questions? Okay, if not, then next item in the report is the update on the investment portfolio. Again, this information's as of the end of January. And like we've been talking about, most of the investments have been related to the construction fund. And as we've invested bond proceeds, and as we spend those down, those investments continue to, the individual securities are timed to mature almost on a monthly basis. So each, the individual securities are falling off month by month. So the 2022 Building and Site Fund still has 7.8 million in it. And there's not a lot of activity this time of year, but that will be significantly spent down over the summer. And then below that, you can see that as far as debt retirement funds, we've got 1.75 million in a fixed term investment that'll mature a few weeks before the next principal and interest payment, which is due May 1st. And then general fund, we currently have about 3.4 million invested. And you can see the liquid rates are starting to come down just a little bit. but they're still very, very favorable, depending on which liquid account we're using. It's anywhere from 5.28 to 5.44%, so pretty good. Any questions on that? All right, then just a quick comment, later in the agenda, there is an action item, and I want to thank Dewey for his work, and if there are any questions at the time, we'd be happy to take those, but there is the memo in there regarding the purchase of 2 maintenance vehicles. And we put a lot of work into defining or identifying what we needed in those vehicles, so I feel really good about that, so. All right. If nothing else, then that will conclude my report.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, Vicksburg Middle School annual report. Allison and Joe?
So, thank you everybody for being here tonight. The presentation was emailed to you. It doesn't show up super great up there, so some of the data that we're going to talk about you might not be able to see unless you're looking at your laptop. So if you want to stay there, you can, or if you want to move on out, either way. You guys, I'm not.
I wouldn't say it because I wouldn't be able to see.
She sent it in the email.
Sorry, Stephanie.
It's all good. Everyone can just share me.
We tried making it bigger and it just didn't work. So this year at Vicksburg Middle School, we kind of have a motto of better together. And if you were at the opening days, you may have seen our staff wearing the red shirts. This was kind of a gift that we gave to the teachers in the beginning of the year, and the back says, better together. Kind of how we kicked off the year. So we ordered those staff shirts, wore them to the opening day, and our staff, afterward, we talked about it, was like, I just loved our shirts, and a lot of the feedback was we could find each other. So we've been away for all summer, and then when we came back, it was really quick and easy to see, hey, there's a red shirt, there's my buddy, there's my friend I haven't seen all summer, and go and talk to them. And it was also really beneficial for brand new staff who didn't really know anybody. When they had their shirts, they were kind of looking for the shirts too, and were able to spot each other. So kind of how we kicked off the year, as in we're better together. So overview of today, we're going to talk a little bit about celebrations in the building, culture of the building, our focus on learning through our PLCs, SEL, and building data, and then we'll get to our conclusion. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to ask as we go through the slides today.
Yeah, so start with some celebrations. As a lot of you know, we did our first half of renovations here in the middle school. We got AC in the front half of the building. We got some new lighting. Rooms 101 through 106, which is right out there in the hallway. They also got brand new flooring, brand new windows, and some new furniture as well too. And in here, we also got a facelift as well too. We got new ceilings in here. We got new carpet, and there's also new windows put on the back wall there. The second half of the renovation should take place next summer.
So next up, you may have seen on the Facebook page and some other areas on Instagram, with Vicksburg Middle School was nominated by the U.S. News and World Report as one of the best middle schools in the state of Michigan. So that means we placed in the top 40% of schools in our state for MSEP scores, and a little later we'll show you a couple slides of how we compare to everybody else in the state and a couple of comparison schools as well. So we also have a nice little plaque that's up by the office, and we got one from the year before as well. So there's a couple plaques out there outside of the office that we were awarded. Bardeen grants. So Bardeen grants, I think most of you are aware of those, but teachers can write those every year. They're due by December 1st, and we always encourage our teachers to write some different grants for what they might need or want to do. So this year, 3 of our teachers were awarded the grants that they wrote. So Miss Banfield is one of our special education teachers, and she wrote a grant for the Michigan Council of Exceptional Children Conference, in which they will be attending soon to go learn more about different strategies and things that they can use in their classrooms. Mr. Deal and Mr. Duncan did a PE revamp, so they got some different things such as, gosh, what did they get? They got pickleball, shuka ball, I don't even know how to say it. They got some nets for that. They got some new frisbees for frisbee golf. They also got, Mr. Duncan also wrote a grant for some alternative seating in his classroom, where he actually received that the other day, and it was really cool because he had some kids out in the hallway helping put it together. So they were learning how to put it all together too for their classroom to sit in. Along with that PE revamp, they also have heart rate monitors that they also received, and just recently they got those all hooked up, so the kids are actually able to see their data. Mr. Deal and Mr. Duncan will be sharing the data with them, and they're thinking they're also going to be able to share it with parents, so parents can get in there to see their kids' heart rate in gym class. And they said it was really cool when they started gym class the other day. The kids were all seated, and you could see their trend line was really low. They got up, and it went up a little bit, and then as soon as they started jogging, how it went up. So the kids were really interested in it too, and wanting to see how they could get it to go up and go down and everything. But so those heart rate monitors are really cool, and again, it shoots out a class report for the teachers, and each student can see how their heart rates are working during the gym time. I guess actually, before I get into culture, I do want to share 2 celebrations. We have had 6 babies in our building this year between staff, and another one on the way. So Mr. Cruzel is one of our paraprofessionals. He became a grandfather for the first time. Mrs. Koning, another teacher in our building, she became a grandmother. We have Mr. Woolheis, his wife had a baby. Mr. Duncan, his wife just had a baby. Mr. Waringa, his wife just had a baby. Miss Roberts, she just had a baby. And then Mrs. Cubbage's daughter is expecting her first granddaughter. So a lot of births to celebrate in our building, keeping us in the business. But so the next part of our presentation is about culture. And I love this quote, is that culture isn't just one thing, it's everything. It's not just one person, it's everyone. Everyone on the team creates the culture. It's your culture, own it and make it great, by John Gordon. And John Gordon is an author that I read a lot about, and last year we did The Energy Bus as a book study for the staff. So kind of keep going back to him. But culture is so important, and it's not just with our staff or our students, but it's also our families. So in the next couple slides, we're going to highlight some of those pieces of what we do here at VMS to build that positive culture for our staff, our families, and our students. So here, a little slide here of picture some of the stuff that we've done as a staff. We do some staff lunches. We order those staff shirts. Every now and then was a pick-me-up. We'll put some things on a snack cart and go around and share. We've gotten some stuff from McKinsey's. We've gotten a couple different candy bars that everybody likes, and sodas and everything, people's favorites, and kind of go around as a little lift-me-up. We do the Grinchmas, so everyone got to dress up before the holiday break. It was pretty fun. We have different dress-up days, hot cocoa bars, and then our departments. So each department I asked to kind of give me a blurb of celebrations, because they meet weekly in their PLCs, and they have a lot to share. So I asked them to come up with some celebrations. So PE and health, some of their celebrations is that they rolled out their formative assessments, and they started to look at data and revise their assessments. Again, they were approved for those Bardeen grants, and they also have those heart rate monitors. Our counseling and behavior interventionist team, they implemented 6th grade minute meetings. So what that is they spend about 1 minute with each of our 6th graders, and they've done it twice this year. They did it at the beginning of the year and once in the middle of the year to check in with them, to see if they had a person that they could go to in the building. Did they have questions about middle school? What were they worried about? And those sorts of things. And so they get a familiar face, and they get to know somebody right away when they enter middle school. We just did a follow-up, like I said, last week they did, and the results were very encouraging. So we're going to continue with that. English department, some of their summer work that they worked on was revamping how writing instruction works in their classrooms and putting more emphasis on writing as a process. And they think it helps students understand that writing is a process philosophy instead of trying to rush to a final product. And how many words do I need to have? How many paragraphs does it need to be? So getting them, encouraging them to know that it's a process. Science, Mr. Workham was kind of over there by there. So Liz Pierce, our 7th grade science teacher, worked with kidwind.org and got over $2,000 worth of materials donated for learning about wind turbines and solar panels. The students have already worked with the wind turbines, and they're going to be working with the solar panels in the spring when the sun hopefully finally shows again in Michigan. And it's been a really great experience for the students. They've got to experiment and collect and analyze data based on those, and it's a great connection to our automation and robotics class that's taught by Ms. Barnhart. So yeah, it was really cool. She wrote that grant, and they got all that stuff donated. The kids had to build the turbines and everything, so they had fun doing that. Social studies, this summer they did a book study on the culturally responsive teaching and the brain. And they've continued that work throughout the year in their PLCs. Their department is also participating in the FAME project, which is the Formative Assessment of Michigan Educators, that they are understanding, they're working on understanding what students know at the moment and using that information to guide their next steps instructionally. They've been taking the time to have discussions with their class and making sure that students understand the content that they're covering, so they have a complete answer when working on their assignments. In math class, when we were looking at the data, we realized there was a need to possibly try to create another section of 8th grade math, just based on our numbers and some other things. So staff math team worked really hard on how can we shift some things around to make this happen. So before Christmas vacation, they started working on it. We have what's called extended learning opportunity classes, where some of our math students get additional support. So we combined some students into another class, and we were able to open up another hour. So then we took about 20 students from the other 8th grade math classes to create another section of 8th grade math to make the class sizes a little bit smaller, and so they could focus a little bit more. So this math team was pretty proud of that we were able to get that going. They started that just at the marking period. So this will be the second half of the year. They've got another section of math. And then the art team, they wanted to share that the middle school students will have a lot of work on display at the KIA, the Kalamazoo Institute of Arts, through February and March. So if you get a chance to head downtown, you'll get to see a lot of our students' artwork. And like Mr. O'Neill said, next week the band will have their pre-festival. Last week the choir had theirs, but then they actually go on Thursday to the festival that they'll be participating in.
So lot of time and effort is put into building culture for the students in the building. Obviously, that's why we're here. So some of the things we have doing for them, we have listed here below. The first thing is our student leadership team. These student leadership teams, they meet monthly with Mrs. Dyer by grade levels, and they've done a lot of wonderful things here in the building. They help us out during parent-teacher conferences, so they'll help parents get to the classrooms they need to see. They'll help, they'll bring teachers waters and things like that, so they help us out there. They also did our thankful bulletin board during Thanksgiving in the cafeteria, where they collected a bunch of sticky notes during their community circle hours, and they just made a beautiful display in the cafeteria with everybody saying what they're thankful for. And then you guys, probably a lot of you saw the Kiss the Pig fundraiser we did here in the middle school, where we had Miss Cubbage, Mr. Duncan, and Mr. Brussy ended up kissing the pig. That was actually organized by our 6th grade student leadership team, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so what they did is they put Christmas trees up for each staff member, and they bought ornaments for $1, 4 for $1, I think it was, and the teachers who had the most stickers had to kiss a pig. So we did the money for South County Community Services, and I think we raised about $190. So that's everything that our student leadership teams are doing. We also have our monthly celebrations. If you look at the picture in the bottom left corner, you see some kids laying on the ground in the gym. That's because we're playing Minute to Win It games. That's what we're doing there. So every month we reward the kids who are doing the right things. That's getting all their assignments turned in, no behavioral referrals. So we take each grade down there and we play Minute to Win It games. And if we're being honest, we're having just as much fun as the kids are when we're down there as well, too.
We might participate in a dodgeball game or two.
Yep, so
with
yes,
another.
we did play a little bit of dodgeball last week with the kids, so it's good to have fun with the kids. Then we have our activity parties. Those are planned by our student council. Those are usually done after school by grade levels as well. And they do some like cornhole tournaments. They do a few Minute to Win It games. They open the gym for basketball and volleyball. And then they also have our bowling parties as well, too. So we've had 7th and 8th grade go out to Airway already, and I believe 6th graders are this Friday. Fundraisers, I already talked about the Kiss the Pig fundraiser, but we also have our canned food drive. And that picture in the top right there, that's some of our students carrying out all the canned food goods that we had donated during our canned food drive. We have lots of clubs, Dungeons and Dragons. We have ski club, coding club, okay? And then in the picture in the top left corner, that is our writing club on their trip to Gilbert and Ivy here in town. Miss Laxonen took the whole group of the writing club over there, and they talked with some local authors about the writing process, and I think they were all given a journal where they can start working on that writing process as well. Then we have our student council as well, too, and that's run by Ms. Tutt and Mrs. Harris, and they organize all the activity parties and a bunch of things, our door decorating contests in the holidays, and they do the fundraiser with the canned food drives. And then our weekly Bulldog winners, that's our PBIS, and you can see we have a picture of some PBIS ticket winners in front of our Bulldog there. So we hand out our PBIS tickets, so when we see them showing good behavior, and then every Friday we draw a name from each grade and we call kids down for to spin our wheel of destiny is what we call it. And it's a prize wheel. They get to pick something off of the prize. They get a snack from the vending machine, a candy bar, and among other things. And then one that was new for us last year is what we did as a student exchange day. We did that with Gull Lake Middle School. We sent 6 or 7 kids to them, and they sent us 6 or 7 kids. And what they did is they shadowed with one of our student leadership members. They went and did their class schedule with them. So they went through a day of school at Vicksburg, and we got great feedback from the Gull Lake kids, how they just loved our building. They loved our hallways and how calm it was, and in the hallways and the lunch and the cafeteria as well. And it's something we're planning on doing again this year. Then we also do orientation. So we traveled to each elementary school last spring to talk with all the 5th graders. It was myself, Mrs. Daggert, Mrs. Curtis, the counselor, and Mr. Hinga, our behavior specialist. No, he wasn't there, was he?
No, yeah, he's
No, it was just the 3 of us. We left Mr. Hinga here. So we just went, so first of all, they can just get to know our faces. So then we kind of talked to them about what to expect with middle school, and that's something we're going to continue on with this year as well, too. And then lunch games. So we allow our kids to go outside, like after 15 minutes of lunchtime, so they can run around, because we know middle schoolers need that. But not every kid wants to go outside. It's cold, or they just don't like going outside. So instead of just having them sit at the cafeteria tables, we purchased some games: chess, checkers, Uno, decks of cards. So now our kids that stay inside, if they want to, they can play some board games or some card games. And then we always have our Walking the Dog fundraiser at the beginning of the school year. And this year during Walking the Dogs, we raised a little over $16,000.
And those funds go to support all of these cool things that we get to do for our kids. So, thank you.
So for our families, we've made an effort to get families back into the building this year. One thing that we've started doing is coffee with the principals. We do that once a month. Our next one is next week, February 20th, where at 9 o'clock we just invite parents in. They can sit down and they can talk to us about what things going on in this building. So we're excited about that. One thing I want to point out is if you look at the pictures there on the top left, this was done by the Wagner family. They took that piece of furniture and they redid it into like a coffee bar for us to put into our lounge for our teachers. And they bought us an espresso machine for the teachers to utilize. So we're very, very thankful for the Wagner family for doing that for our teachers. And then also in some pictures, we have the Connections Church. They made us breakfast over the holiday. That's in the top right corner. And then I believe Andy Lyle's church also did a cocoa bar for us. Another thing that we're going to do is we still have lots of volunteers coming in. We're doing an orientation with the 5th graders again, and we're doing a parent night coming up next month for our incoming 6th graders.
So now I move on to that focus on learning, and sorry, the goals are a little small up there to look at, but these 3 goals came out of our district continuous improvement meetings where we focused on looking at data and trends. So based on the data that we looked at, we came up with 3 goals for our building. So goal number 1 is that if we are consistent in the use of formative assessments and how they tie to the learning targets to guide instruction, then the number of students needing intervention will decrease. Goal number 2 is if we address barriers like class size, class structure, behavior management through training and support to improve differentiation, then the number of students needing intervention or urgent intervention will decrease. And then our 3rd goal is if we improve instructional practices for what to do when students don't learn it, then there will be a system in place to provide a smooth transition of instruction for when students return to school. So these 3 goals have been our focus throughout the year. We tweaked them a little bit actually last week when we had our last meeting at the district continuous improvement meeting. And the next couple slides, we're going to talk about how we're addressing those goals. So you have all seen the old PLC slides. I didn't show up that exact one, but this slide focuses on the 3 areas that our building is focusing on. So in our PLCs, the focus on learning is that balanced and coherent assessment system. And as I spoke a little bit about before, we have our FAME teams, which is our social studies team this year. Science and some math teachers have gone through it and are in their 2nd year of developing those formative assessments. We're also using those formative assessments to help guide our learning targets and talking about how do our learning targets and our formative assessments connect, making sure that students are understanding the content. And if they don't, what are we doing to make sure that they do? Also, in a focus of learning, we also have what's called our DNF list and tutorials. So each week on Friday, I pull our list of students that have Ds and Fs, and then teachers see that so they can see maybe who's the urgent students that they need to see for their tutorial time. At the middle school, we have tutorial every day, Monday through Friday, but we have what's called a priority day. So on Monday, and I might misspeak, I think it's social studies on Monday. Tuesday, I think, is math, and Wednesday is, or English, and then math is Wednesday, and Thursday is science, and then Fridays are elective teachers. So each department has a specific day where they know they can stamp students and bring them in. However, if they need to see a student on a Monday and it's not their priority day, if the student isn't stamped to go somewhere else, they can take them. They can see them, so they can pull them in to help do some things. The next part, the collaborative culture and collective responsibility. So again, our teachers meet weekly in weekly PLCs for 30 minutes. And in those PLCs, they focus on the 4 questions. What is it we want our students to know and be able to do? How will we know if each student has learned it? How will we respond when some students do not learn it? And how will we extend the learning for students who have demonstrated proficiency? So we're really thankful for that time to be able to do that work. The results orientation, so that data mindset. So again, the formal data reviews, 5 times a year, the teams bring in different data and say, hey, this is how my students did on this test. They didn't get questions 3 and 4, but they got all these other ones right. I'm not sure what's going on. Any ideas? And so the teams talk about what can we do next? What are next steps? What can I do for this student who got it? What can I do for the student who didn't get it? And they brainstorm ideas and go back and make sure that those students understand. So also, again, data protocols. We have the formal data protocols, but then we also have just basic data protocol where the teachers talk and brainstorm. And then again, that weekly DNF list goes out and kind of look at that and gauge how are our students doing.
SEL at VMS. Over there on the left is the district SEL goal that's listed there. And here's some things that we're doing here at Vicksburg Middle School for our SEL. In our community circles, we talked about this a little bit last year in our board presentation. We utilize the Positivity Project. For those who don't know what the Positivity Project is they basically have 24 character strengths that are a focus each week. So each week we have a new character strength. Some examples of the character strengths are curiosity, teamwork, integrity, creativity, bravery, gratitude, things along those lines. And every week we have a different theme. I think our theme this week is love. And then we have some stuff that we go over with our morning announcements, whether that's Allison going over them or me doing those. So we go over that. And then during community circles, they have lessons that are built in right with these positivity projects where the teachers will do with the kids where sometimes they might watch a short video and then have some discussion on the video or some other activities. I know Allison mentioned earlier the minute meetings with our 6th graders that we did have. Another nice data point that came out of this, we did ask the 6th graders, is there an adult they feel like they'd be comfortable going to talk to, and who that adult was. And there was a large percentage of them that said their community circles or their 7th hour teacher was their adult that they were comfortable going to. Some student strategies that we have. Our goal is to keep the kids in the classroom as much as possible. So one of the things that we do here at VMS is we have break procedures for kids that they can use. So outside of each classroom, you'll see these 2, right underneath the Positivity Project, those 2 things posted outside of the classrooms where it's just kind of a mood meter where you're at and some strategies you can utilize within that mood meter and then some grounding techniques that also can be used by the students. And those are just right outside the classroom. So if they need to take a 3 to 5 minute break, get themselves back composed and come back in the classroom, it's a lot better if, say I have to go down there and take them out of the class because they weren't able to take that break, get themselves grounded, get themselves back into the classroom. Another thing we have here is the request to talk to somebody. So the purpose of this is we frequently would have kids come down and say, I need to talk to Mr. Workman, I need to talk to Mrs. Dagger, I need to talk to Mrs. Curtis, and so on. So we created this form, okay, so kids can fill this form out right from classroom, and it emails all 4 of us as soon as they hit submit on this form. So just ask their grade, their name, which one of us they want to talk to, or they could talk to any 4 of us, how soon they need to talk to us, and then they just hit submit. We all get emailed, and then whoever comes up on it, as soon as we can, or based on, say they need 24 hours as soon as possible, we pull the kid when it's convenient, and then we have that conversation with them. It's also nice because sometimes we have those kids that aren't comfortable saying, I need to talk to you, because they don't want to draw attention to themselves as well. So they can just simply pull up their Chromebook without drawing attention to themselves. They can fill that form out, and then As soon as we're available, one of us will come grab them and see what it is that they need.
So now we're going to dig into a little bit of our building data. A couple data points that we have is some of our panorama survey data, which is to improve core academic skills, behavior, and attendance. We have some of our PSAT 8-9 data, some MSTEP data, and our ELO exit data. That's that extended learning opportunity class.
So here is our panorama data from the fall when we took the panorama. When you look at the data, you can see we identified self-efficacy and emotional regulation as the two points where we needed to address the most. Mrs. Curtis and Mr. Hinga kind of led this, and then Mr. Hinga kind of typed something up for us on how they're utilizing this and how they're pushing this out to our teachers for them to use with the kids in their 7th hour classes. And he said, utilizing the panorama survey, we identified 2 significant areas where our student bodies scored low, and that's the emotional regulation and the self-efficacy. They said, leveraging the Panorama Playbook Library, we selected lessons from the MTSS/RTI framework to address these areas. These lessons are integrated into community circle time with 1 lesson distributed to teachers weekly. Teachers are requested to allocate 1 day per week of their choosing to implement the assigned lesson. So they go into the panorama and they go into the kind of the resources that are built in there, and they put together a lesson for our teachers to do with their community circle classes. And then here's some data on our tardies. You know, we've talked about keeping kids in class. One thing is getting them to class on time. And I think every Monday, myself, Allison, Mr. Hinga, Ms. Curtis, we sit down just to kind of take a pulse of what's going on and what students need within the building. We do that every Monday morning. One thing that came up at the end of the last year is, man, our tardies are a lot right now. So what can we do to fix that? So we kind of went to the handbook. We made some changes to the handbook. And then we just kind of streamlined the process and how we're notifying these kids and their parents that, hey, you're at tardy number 2, next one's going to be a consequence. And because of this, you can see that from the first semester last year compared to the first semester this year, last year we had 1,544 tardies in the first semester. This year we had 1,135. So we reduced our tardies by 409 in the first semester. So and I thought that was excellent.
Were those tardies from being late to a class?
Late to a class.
Yes.
Not
Late.
just at the beginning of the day?
It could be everything. but
Usually-
mostly just
Yeah,
class.
usually it's the late to class throughout the day, because at the beginning of the day, if they're getting dropped off late by a parent, we usually don't count that tardy against them.
We hear a lot sometimes, I don't have enough time to go to my class, but we see them 3 or 4 times in
Yeah,
the hallway.
they'll pass you four
Make a loop.
times, like, yeah, just walking the track.
Social.
Yeah.
Yep,
We're like,
yes.
oh, I think you have time. PSAT 8-9, so this is the spring, so our current freshmen. So their results, I know it's a little small, I apologize, but overall, our score was a 906. As a state, it was 827, and all testers, it was an 836. So our current freshmen kind of blew it out of the water when they took that this spring. Really exciting. That was also the last time it was going to be paper pencil. So some of the changes to the PSAT 8-9 is that they are now doing it online, and we had the opportunity to practice. So over the summer, Adam and I had talked, and we came up with a plan. We developed being able to bring our 8th graders over to the high school in the fall to do a practice test and kind of do it like it would be a regular test. So we had all of our 8th graders go to the high school, kind of explain to them what they were going to be doing, and then they took the PSAT 8-9 practice test for the first time ever online. Overall, it went pretty smoothly. We are excited about the fall, this spring, to see how they improve. So our students in the fall, our 8th graders, tested at a 786 overall. As a state, they were at 738, and all testers were at 767. So again, that was just the practice test, and not every school in every district in every state did it. So we were thankful that we did, because we were able to work out some kinks and try to figure out what we need to do better for the springtime.
So here we have our MSTEP data from last spring for all of our subjects combined. There's a few things that drew my attention. The first one was going back to 2020-21 year. Each year we're seeing an increase. So in 2021 we were at 44%. 21-22, we were at 47%, and 22-23, we were at 50% proficient. So we're showing that steady growth each year, which was encouraging. Also, compared to a state level this year, the state average for Michigan was 38%, and we were at 50%. And then the pink shows schools of the same characteristics. Schools of the same characteristic was 46%, and again, we're at 50. And some of those schools, the same characteristics are listed below. Some of those probably be familiar to you. On the left and around the middle, we got Edwardsburg Middle School. And then on the right, Otsego, Plainwell, and then also Portage North are just some examples of some of those schools with the same characteristics.
So earlier I spoke a little bit about our ELO class at Extended Learning Opportunity. So we have reading and math. So we identify students who may need a little bit of additional support through our STAR testing and through teacher recommendation. And this year we made it a real big focus to try to get kids in and out in 9 weeks. Because in the past it's kind of like once you're in ELO, you're in it for a while. We have some exit criteria that students were trying to meet, and then we've adjusted some of that and talked about how we can do some things differently. So this year, one change that we did was to our master schedule to make it more fluid for students. Because when we take a student out of ELO, we need a class to put them in. So we need to make sure there's an elective available for that student. So when we were thinking about creating that schedule, we did it so we have an ELO class every hour for reading and math, except for fifth hour. It's the only hour there isn't one. But then there's also electives for every one of those hours as well. So if there's a sixth grader that needs a little additional support for reading for the first 9 weeks, they can go into ELO first hour, but then if they exit, we can easily just put them into an elective class instead of trying to change their whole schedule around. So again, looking at some of the changes that we were doing to try to support this. So this was kind of exciting. Last week, we just had another celebration. So each marking period, our ELO teachers are Mrs. Lyle and Mrs. Stubbs. They celebrate the students who get to exit. And this last week, they got to have a pizza party. They all got to have a pizza party together during tutorial down in the old staff lounge and celebrate and got a certificate and just kind of hang out with their friends and just celebrate the good job that they did. So the first marking period, you can see math. So only 5 out of the 33 students exited. But then second semester, 11 out of 36 students exited. For reading, 3 out of 56 students exited first marking period. Second marking period, 11 out of 58. So we're trying to exit more students that get in there and out quickly. So we're excited to see what third marking period brings and how many more students that we can exit from those classes that may not need that additional support. Along with all the support and all the great things we're doing, I thought this was a little interesting. So some of our enrollment data, just going back to 21-22, as a middle school, we were at 550 students. 22-23, we were at 582, and currently we're at 608. So we're consistently growing here at the middle school by 30 to 20 students each year. So we're expecting, hopefully, for it to grow again next year. But our numbers are a little over 200 in each of our grade levels currently. So even though we're increasing in students, we're still able to find ways to meet their needs and do what's best for our kids. Yeah. So again, all of that, so staying focused on those goals and working together as a team, we are better together. So what questions do you have?
What was the book, the social response?
Culturally responsive teaching in the brain.
And then who is that by?
It is by Zaretta Hammond.
And I don't know if your science teacher's aware, but KVCC has a wind turbine program. It is super cool to go check out, so I'm thinking field trip.
Very cool. Thank you.
And I would help with that if it needed to.
I really am delighted that you are very intentional about not only culture, but particularly in light of the last 3-4 years when we try to keep people out of the buildings for infectious reasons. To invite families back in and make them part of it again and feel like they've got input. I think that's so valuable and critical. I'm glad you've really been intentional about that.
We're hoping to increase the numbers. We do an RSVP because we make coffee, so we're, so the first one we had 2 people RSVP. So we had 2 people show up, and the next one we didn't have any. So we're really hoping for more. So our next one, like I said, is February 20th, so all of you on the live stream, hopefully. The invite will go out Friday.
But I think it's a change in thinking for them too, and it may take some time.
Yeah.
And, make an effort, and if it doesn't work, you try something else. But I think having parents feel like they're engaged in their schools is so important, and we really lost that because we couldn't have them in the beginning.
Right.
Thank you for sending it to us,
Yes,
too.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
That was really, really helpful.
You're welcome.
That is the lady.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, we've got three people that wish to address the board this evening. First is Noni Hikas.
Actually, I realized I'm on the agenda on the second page, so
Oh.
you can skip me.
Okay, we'll skip you then. Okay, Julie Koyman?
I'm here tonight. I'm representing several parents and people from the community just to let you know that we haven't forgotten what's happening with our bathrooms.
Could you speak up a little bit? We can't hear very well up here.
This is just for
mic-
the
The
online.
mic's just for the.
There's
Wha-
just a
let's-
vent behind
let's
us
move-
blowing.
Let's move the microphone up here more to the front. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, I think this might be better.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay, so I'm just here to represent the parents in the community, and that we haven't forgotten what's happening in our bathrooms at our schools, and and we're just really concerned that we want our kids' privacy protected, and it's not being protected, and so I just really wanted to come here and just let you know that we haven't forgotten. And it just seems like we come here and then we speak about how we're feeling and what we're thinking, and we're very concerned about our kids' privacy and protection, and nothing is really happening. It's actually going in the opposite direction, and so. So we know what's going on in the high school, and then we heard that it was going on in our elementary school at Sunset Lake. And so I reached out to Amy McCaw about this. I know her because my daughter went to their school there for a little while, and Amy did reply to me, which I really appreciated. And so I just wanted to share what she said, just because she actually laid it out and informed us, what is our policies. Because as a parent, I'm seeing that the students aren't being told what's happening. The parents aren't being told what's happening. And so I found out because of a lawsuit, and that's how I found out what was happening in our schools. My 3 kids had no idea what was happening, so I guess they have to go to the bathroom and find out for themselves. And so there's no transparency and there's no communication, and I just don't want to be shocked anymore at this point. And so I appreciate that Mrs. McCaw, she did respond to me, and so here's what she stated, that our district statement on bathroom protocols. It says the district's policies prohibit discrimination, bullying, and harassment on the basis of sex, which includes sexual orientation and gender identity. State and federal law and guidance and current binding case law in Michigan all require public schools to allow all students, including transgender students, to use the restrooms that correspond with their gender identity or to use single-user restrooms, whichever the student chooses. And so she went on to say, as a school community, we are obligated to create a safe and welcoming school climate, supervise it appropriately, and clearly articulate expectations about acceptable behaviors. And so I don't know how this is going to work out as far as the majority of the students wanting their privacy protected. So I don't know how there's going to be a safe and welcoming school environment. This just doesn't match up. And so I feel like the rights of a minority group are being given, and then the rights are being taken away from the majority. Because
We've got about 15 seconds.
okay. So I'm just going to skip to, I would like a public statement from Mr. O'Neill, and this is just something that everyone would like to know. So as far as this, prohibit discrimination including gender identity, does this apply to our bathrooms? So yes, we know that's true. What about our school bathrooms during public events like sports and concerts? Do you allow adults to choose which school bathroom they prefer to use based on their gender identity? And what about our sports? What about our locker rooms and our showers? And what about our sleeping quarters such as band camp and cabins? So I'm not sending my daughter to band camp to find out that a biological male is sleeping in her cabin. So these are just some policies that I would like public response to know, because the parents want to know. All parents want to know.
Julie, we did release that statement back in, I believe it was August, that Mrs. McCaw had sent to you, and that was posted on our website. It's in our minutes. We did release a public statement, but we are facing a lawsuit, so we can't comment on a lot of the items you brought up due to the pending litigation. But I can get you that statement. I know Amy sent most of it to you, but I can get you the statement that we did release.
Okay. Does it include answering all of those other areas?
We can't comment on those at this time.
Okay.
Thanks.
Again, we're, under a lawsuit, we are going to listen to the guidance of our attorneys.
Okay, Lisa Hostetler?
Hello again. I am going to, again, address the board, and I am going to go over. And I think I request that respect for me to be able to speak what I need to say here, since we just listened to a half-an-hour presentation about the middle school, which I think is
Our public
fabulous.
comment is still held down to 3 minutes.
Okay, well,
Let's
I'm
start-
going to
start.
I'm going to take over. I'm going to use more time than that. So, I'm going to address as well the situation at Sunset Lake as far as a boy going into the girls' bathroom. And tell me if I get these facts wrong. These are things that have been brought to my attention. Is that a transgender, a boy wanting to be a girl wanted to go into the girls' bathroom. The mom requested that this be allowed, and apparently you guys okayed it, that he could go in there, because I guess he wanted to experience what it was like to be in the girls' culture. So he was allowed to go in there, but he wasn't allowed to actually pee in the bathroom. So I don't know if this is true, but this doesn't make any sense. Does anybody want to comment on that?
That's the first I've heard of that.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Okay.
Well, the way you described the incident, that wasn't reported to me like that.
But it was reported to you.
No, I didn't have any reports. All I know is that we have transgender students that do use bathrooms with the gender they identify with.
Okay. So this boy apparently looked through the space in the door as a female child was going to the bathroom. So she is now mortified, horrified that somebody is looking at her through the gap in the door. I would feel horrified as an adult if somebody was doing that to me, let alone a child. I just can't believe that this is happening. So what I found, because I called Amy Manchester today and asked her, I said, I need the policy for this bathroom situation. Like, what does the policy say? And she told me, we don't have a policy. We have an anti-harassment policy. And I said, well, can you send it? Because I could not find it on the website. So she sent it to me. And the policy says, and this is Section 3000, professional staff. It's the anti-harassment policy. The code is PO 3362 if you're trying to look for it. It was adopted in November of 91, and it was revised in December of 2019. So it's been in place for 28 years. And it says in here, the board will take immediate steps to impose disciplinary action on individuals engaging in any of the following prohibited acts. Letter G says, it's a
You have
15
seconds.
I'm going to keep talking.
Well,
It's a pattern
you're
of
not going to.
contact
Don't make
which
it really-
can be subtle in nature, that has sexual overtones and is intended to create or has the effect of creating discomfort or humiliation to another. This is your policy. A male or a female going into the opposite sex
Your
bathroom
time is up.
is going to cause discomfort and humiliation to another person. And I want to use you two as an example. If you two were 7th graders in a public bathroom and you're urinating and some girls came in and saw your private parts, we're going to get a little graphic.
Why do you feel that you don't have to follow our policy?
Because
with regard to
I
board
am
comment?
sitting in these meetings and you're not listening to anything we're saying because we've been complaining about this since August
We
and
are-
nothing is being done.
We are listening. The superintendent's giving you explanations. We're in a legal lawsuit situation under advice of our attorney. We can't make comment with regard to this.
Okay,
But I
you-
will tell you, we have a 3-minute time limit. I
You
gave you
can't make a comment,
30
but you can
extra
stop what's going on right now.
This is all the time we're allowing for public comment. And that's what I've done equally with
So what you're
everybody that's
what
been
you're
here.
saying to me is kids are getting violated, and you are not doing anything
saying
about it.
That was
And
never
we
said.
are done.
Is that
Making
true?
That is not true.
We are done making comment on this.
Okay,
The
so why
meeting
can't
has
you tell the
stopped.
parents how you're protecting the kids? That's
Let me tell you
that's what
another-
we're
one more
concerned
time.
about.
We are in the middle of a lawsuit, okay? We will follow this through. We respect the law, look forward to defending it, and we will resolve it through the court of law. Beyond that, we're not going to have any comment about this.
So you don't have a policy, and you won't protect the children.
Our policy is we
Done.
follow the law.
The policy twice. So I'm understanding something different than you.
Well, this is going into the sexual harassment policy, and this isn't what's happening to our kids. They're
Lisa.
getting
Lisa,
Policy, and I've heard their responses to both you and the previous person.
okay. We'll see what.
Lisa, I would, just again, we released a statement in August about how we handle situations with our policies, whether discipline's imposed or whatever we have to do. We laid it all out in that statement.
All right, well, I presented this. This is your policy, and it's not being followed.
I believe it is being followed.
thank
No,
you
it's
for your comments.
No, it's not.
Okay, we'll go on to board action required. First item we have before us is the approval of following board meeting minutes. First, a regular board meeting dated January 15th, 2024.
So moved.
Moved by Stephanie,
Sport.
supported by Carol. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Special board meeting dated February 6, 2024.
So moved.
Moved by Tina,
Support.
supported by Carol. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of general fund invoices totaling $298,329.40.
Move approval.
Moved by Tina,
Support.
supported by Carol. Any discussion? Stephanie?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. Item C, approval of purchase card disbursements for December 2024 totaling $109,643.85.
So moved.
Moved by Stephanie. Supported. Supported by Dan. Discussion? Stephanie?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. Approval of reinstatement request for student 21-22B for the second semester of 2023-24 school year.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Carol, supported by Tina. Discussion? All
So-
in favor?
So this is, the had a reinstatement meeting and a behavior contract and the usual. Okay. Yes.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of Kelly Luke as Vicksburg Pathways High School Principal effective January 24th,
So moved.
2024.
So moved.
Moved by
Support.
Stephanie, supported by Tina. Discussion? I'll just say welcome, great choice.
Yay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I was going to say, we need to probably vote to kind of complete it. Okay, approval of retirement of high school social studies teacher Brian Lambden after 26 years of service.
So moved.
Moved by Dave,
Dan.
or Dan?
I'll
Okay.
second it then.
Supported by Dave. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of resignation of high school English teacher Maureen Mead effective March 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Moved
Support.
by Ron, supported by Tina. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, approval to accept quote for Denoyer Ford to purchase two F-350 trucks totaling $100,780, $49,990 each for maintenance department. Do you want to make some comments with regard to that, or?
No, I can answer any questions.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Other than we need them.
Yeah, they're specifically for the snow plowing, and that's why we're getting them because of our aged, fleet. So I know we have to build a lot of reliability in our snow plowing. It's obviously, we have deadlines, it's not like our lawn mowers, and I can wait a day to repair. I have to have some pretty good reliable vehicles to make sure that we open on time.
So these are replacement vehicles then?
Yes.
And we're replacing two vehicles with two vehicles? We're not adding to the,
Well, the idea is we're gonna take one completely out. The other one is our salt truck slash plow truck. And we've asked it to do double duty, and it's very rusted underneath, and it's got our biggest plow on it. So I'd like to retire it from plowing, still salt with it, much easier on the, it's one of our newer trucks too, and it's one of the most rusted because it is our salt, as a flatbed where our salter sits on it.
okay.
Geez, I remember when that was new.
So that,
These are package deals too, so they come prepared to plow. Am I right?
Well, the reason why we were able to get the good pricing is because we did go to Denoyer and get the trucks, and then Steensma, and we're doing a lot of
Oh, okay.
legwork to make it less expensive for the district.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
But we are getting exactly what we need. There isn't anything, if there's anything extra, or there's anything that we're missing to make sure these work right.
Yeah, they've got, the pre-plow package, so they're all set from the dealership, and then we typically buy through Steensma, the plows, and so we'll be able to add those at a later date.
So are you are our old trucks 350s? Or are you,
They're 3500s, which is they're 1 tons.
okay,
They have to be, you have to have a big beefy front end to hold those big plows that we put on.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Will one of these be able to take on a sander at some point if the other one rusts out?
Yes, kinda. The Fords are aluminum body, which will take the salt a lot better. We still have to undercoat the underside of them, but we can do that if we need to.
But the beds, we can put the salt, there are units that we can put in those beds to spread salt, correct?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
sand salt mix, yep. You know,
But that salter truck ought to be able to go quite a while because it's not gonna have the stress of plowing on it.
It's not gonna have the stress of having to plow, because again, it's our biggest plow, and you wouldn't believe how heavy snow is. When you got the big plow, it's 9'6" when it's.
Is that the
spread out.
V-blade?
So, that's the V-blade.
Yeah.
So, it's, we're using that poor truck, it's the rustiest. We use, like I say, putting the biggest blade on it, we're gonna hopefully fix that.
even that is 15 years old. So
Yeah, I know.
It seems like.
Doesn't seem
it seems
possible.
Like it was new not that long ago,
I
but.
know.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item I, approval of third year of 5-year probation for the following teachers. Megan Lynn at the middle school, Jay Bennett at the middle school.
So move.
Support.
Moved by Carol, supported by Stephanie. Any discussion?
You love Mr. Bennett. He's awesome in the band.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. Approval of bid for learning environments in the amount of $13,418.09 to purchase high school cafeteria tables.
So moved.
Moved by Tina,
Supported.
supported by Dan. Discussion? Okay, Stephanie?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. approval of a bid from Great Lakes West in the amount of $143,931.69 to purchase serving lines for Indian Lake, Sunset Lake, and Vicksburg High School.
So moved.
Moved by Tina,
Support.
supported by Stephanie. Discussion?
Were
I just-
both of these projects for the tables and the serving lines something that you had intended to do with remodeling and we ran out of cash?
Yeah, Sarah, if you want to comment on that, but I did want to say all these funds are from the food service fund. And so we are restricted on how much fund balance we can have, and we're over that. And so we're limited on how we can spend it, and Maureen before Sarah, but Sarah certainly has continued it. We're continually investing in replacing equipment and all that kind of stuff. So, but do you want to comment on the?
We had an excess fund the last couple of years, and the serving lines, specifically at Sunset, are not actually serving lines. It's actually a work table. It doesn't even have a tray slide on it. So BK students that are 5 years old are coming through and folding their lunch tray as they go through the line, even on the first day of school. So just upgrading a couple of those things to make it safer and easier for students. Hoping to move the high school serving line to the middle school to save a little bit of money, but update the middle school serving line as well. So kind of giving everybody a little bit of a facelift with the extra money we have, to make it safer and easier.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Stephanie?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. Approval of Vicksburg High School French students field trip to Chicago on April 24th, 2024, with transportation costs paid by the French Club.
So moved.
Moved by Tina,
Support.
supported by Carol. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We had several ayes and one we from Dave. Approval of annual Cedar Point field trip for Vicksburg Middle School 8th grade students on June 10th, 2024. They'll be here tomorrow.
So moved.
Moved by Ron,
Support.
supported by Stephanie. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item N, approval of Vicksburg High School Agri-Science student field trip to Ireland in the summer of 2025.
So
I bet that's
moved.
what you're here to
Yeah.
talk about.
We don't need discussion.
Okay, moved by
I'm a-
Tina,
I wanted to apologize because I left out the best part in your packets, so these have been put in your folder now with the actual itinerary. And I just came in case you had any questions, and to say that there's not room for all of you to go shopping.
I already went, so I'm too old to go again.
We're gonna make cheese and gather shellfish and do hands-on stuff.
oh, awesome.
Oh,
What an
wow.
experience.
We like to do stuff.
Yeah.
Think it'd be possible to have a report back? Have the kids come and
Have the
present to us?
students come, yeah, especially.
Yeah, I
Love to hear
when the
that.
students come
Yeah.
and talk about things that they've done, and, I always have a good supply of students with good projects to talk about, so if you're not finding that your meetings are getting boring, just let me know, I can spice them up anytime.
That'd be a great thing to do. Let's try and do
Do you
that.
have any idea how many students are gonna be interested in going?
I sent out just a Google survey saying, do you think you might be interested, to just the current agri-science students? And, I got about 42 possible interests. So,
Wow.
Dang.
whether all of those come through or not, I mean, I said, I don't have dates or costs or anything yet, but just preliminarily, are you interested? And, we had that much interest. Part of the reason it came about was due to my students. We were at FFA National Convention. We turn them loose in the expo hall in between sessions, and a couple students came up and grabbed me and said, come here, you gotta see this. And, dragged me over to this tour company's table, and they said, they have this ag tour to Ireland. Look, they do stuff, and they go to all these cool places, and we wanna go. And I said, okay. So, I
What
needed to
an
drag
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a real quick question for you, Noreen. Obviously, this is another summer away before you would leave. So some of the kids you're talking to right now maybe graduated by then? Is that still going to be open to those students to go?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
I'm not, as you know, real good at excluding students.
No, I was just curious, yeah.
No, I think students who have graduated can certainly have that opportunity. When we take the best science students to Africa, alumni also go, so.
Very good.
Are you doing that this year?
Yes, I have 13 signed up this year.
Really?
Yeah,
God,
you're going to Africa? 11 that are seniors this year, and the both that went last year are going again, so apparently it's an okay trip.
And I'm still too old to do that too.
I did not say that.
I did. I think that's an awesome thing.
I do
For
too.
kids to be able to do.
Very
it.
cool. Fabulous pictures, I have many of them, but when students who've just graduated high school can do IVs on rhinos, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is.
So I'm hoping for another really great experience because this is through a tour company, so I don't really have to make the arrangements. Families can pay over time, which I think is a really nice feature that we don't always have an easy ability to do. So basically, my job will be to get them to the airport in Dublin and then do what I do with my best science students, trail them around and take pictures.
Awesome.
Cool, yeah. That's great.
Okay, I think we've got a motion. Do we need a support?
I'll support it.
Supported by Dave. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Second reading approval of following policies. We'll take items 1 through 10 with the board's permission.
So move.
Moved by Carol. Supported by Tina.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
you nodded your head. I
Happy
thought
to.
maybe you were,
And a lot of these changes are because of the change in law out of Lansing, correct?
Correct.
That we have to come in alignment with.
That's exactly the case, Dave. Thank you.
okay, any other discussion? Stephanie?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol? And yes, motion carries. Who made the motion on buying the trucks? We just didn't get it down.
I
Did
don't know that we did that.
Huh?
I don't know that we
Did
just
we
voted.
did we take action on the trucks?
I think I did.
I think Tina did.
Well, I thought we,
Well, Stephanie did the second, didn't you, on the trucks?
Yes.
There
Okay.
you go.
I will put my name on that.
all right, Tina and Stephanie. Okay,
Should
we're all
we vote
set.
again just to make sure it looks official?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
One more time.
Motion carries.
So don't go buy 4 trucks.
Well, Amy asked me that.
That's the same truck that Mary.
On that, we'll stand adjourned.
That's what you bought